Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Now, I trusted you and Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to do it. If you're starting to say, "Oh, you're not allowed to say this because you're going to taint the investigation,"
Well, see,
then
I think you're taking it wrong. I think you're taking what I'm saying wrong. I know I get where you're coming from now, and I know you well enough to know what you're trying to tell me. I
yeah,
truly get that.
I'm trying to get over some ground rules that help.
Yeah.
It's what I and Evan do is hard. It's really hard, and it's all on confidence. If we believe we can do what we do it. But all we're really doing is opening ourselves up and spirit come in.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it's about. And I can't tell you when spirit are going to come in.
I get that completely. That
Because
I get.
it's not necromancy. I
Yeah.
can't say, right, I want to talk to Charles Darwin. I want to talk to Abraham Lincoln.
See,
He
and you
lived
know
here.
why? And you know why I have a problem with that? Oh, you just froze on me. There you go.
All right.
Ryan, are we streaming still, Ryan? Is the world hearing
Yeah.
us?
Yeah.
Okay. Any kickback on how we're sounding from anybody?
You sound great.
We
Well,
do,
hey.
but
You guys sound great. I'm listening to
You
you
know-
through my phone, and you guys are coming out clear.
So this
Cool.
is your phone listening via YouTube.
It's up here.
Yeah, listen.
I have to
Brilliant.
feel that everything's right for me to do it.
Excellent.
You start.
okay.
And if you can
We
hear
may have
it,
solved
if you can hear
we
it
s-
perfectly through my phone, then we're good to go.
Excuse me.
We've sorted the problem, haven't we? Well
Yeah.
done, old man. Well done.
All right. Hey,
I
let
think
me go check something. I'll be right back. Don't go. Have another swig of Hobgoblin. I may get some of my really hardcore apple cider
Oh, you're
and drink
cool.
it.
You're
I'm
going to have
cool.
to bring some over next time. No, you won't be able to get it through customs, will you?
No. We know about that, don't we, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't bring any orange jelly. Long story, Chris.
Orange chili.
Jelly.
Jelly.
I was trying to bring some orange citrus jelly over to my niece and my sister, and I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I put it in the back of Ryan's backpack, didn't tell him. Oh, this is how we'll put it in there. And I don't know what I was thinking. Customs stops him and says, "What do you do with the jelly?" And I'm like, "Oh man, it's like confiscated the jelly," which they should.
I just see him taking my backpack, and I'm just like, uh-oh.
This is the 101% hallucinogenic jelly, isn't it?
No.
Oh, yeah,
No,
101%.
that was in your socks, wasn't it? Yeah.
Ryan, have you got anybody tuned into us yet?
No.
Okay, good. All right, I'll be right back, guys. Hang on.
He's off again.
Toodaloo.
Toodaloo. To the loo. Right. It's just time for here we go. Ah, perfect. It's a shame you're not here. You could join me.
I could.
You could. You'd like this.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. You'd like this. Have any joy with finding Hobgoblin over there?
Not really.
Oh man, maybe I can send you a case.
That might be way too expensive.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. Have you had a look on Amazon?
Yeah, same as before. I think I'm gonna have to go to an actual. I think there's a store that is close to where I am. It's like it's like a international alcohol place.
Right. What a speakeasy. Yeah.
Basically.
I'll have a look on my end and see what I can come up with and see if there's anywhere that sort of says. I'll go on the Hobgoblin site and see if they've got any vendors out in America.
So there's a place called Total Wine, and it
Right.
says they have it there.
Where's that?
Let me check if there's one near me. Total Wine and More. There's one about 8.5 miles. It's about a 20-minute drive from where I am.
Well, don't drink the Hobgoblin until you get home.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it sounds like you can get it.
Yeah, it's right by the airport actually.
Now, if you can actually get it, the Black Witch is lovely.
I'll take a look into it.
It's a stout. It's a very dark beer, but it's absolutely lovely. Really, it's one of my favourites.
I can
Absolutely lovely.
Absolutely. Yeah, being what rather, yes.
I can only drink darker beers. I can't drink lighter ones.
No, nobody should drink light beers.
That's when it starts to taste like piss.
It does indeed. Goblin piss, otherwise known as Budweiser.
Hey, I got to tell you something totally off subject for a second. I was listening to a brief YouTube today about a Belgian pilot that escaped, got over to England, ended up flying Typhoons, made a singular attack on a SS headquarters in Brussels after he strayed from another mission. You know what squadron he flew with?
609.
609.
I'm sorry, I just read you.
Well, yeah, but that was kind of obvious, wasn't it? Yeah,
No, you just flashed it straight across. You couldn't resist it.
I couldn't. It was 609 squadron.
You just flashed the squadron room up.
Yeah, it was I just kind of really
have a sniff. Have a little sniff. It's really nice. You'd like it. 6.5%.
I liked Hobgoblin.
This isn't Hobgoblin.
What is it? What is it? I can't read it. It's blurry.
All right. Abbott Reserve.
Okay. Hey, Ryan, where are you at? Go ahead.
What?
Sorry.
I was just wondering how Ryan was doing with our search for British beer over here.
We were just talking about that. He's doing well.
Okay. What have you got so far, Ryan?
Wait, what the heck?
Oh.
Oh, that doesn't sound right.
I have to feel that everything's right.
It sounds clear.
Hold on.
What's wrong, Ryan?
There's 2 live streams going on at once. For us. No, now there's only one. What the heck? I mean, I'm not complaining as long as they're both working.
Yeah.
This is Area 52, isn't it?
Area 52.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was an Area 52. I just found out about it.
Well, there's an Area 51, but there's an Area 52 in Florida, apparently.
Well, there is an Area 52 that apparently is a sideshow to 51. I just heard about that yesterday. So,
excellent.
So.
Did I tell you I've actually seen a UFO?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you did. Maybe you did.
I've seen 2 actually, but.
Well, that'll be a.
So that's another one.
Yeah, that's another one too.
I've had an experience with the Sasquatch, or a Bigfoot, as we just call them over here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just a nosy bugger, and I stick my nose in everywhere, and it gets sort of bitten off. So.
So what do you think, Ryan? We got anybody up with us yet?
No.
Okay. Do you want to
Well,
wait?
it's 1 minute 2, so you still got a minute.
It's 7 on my computer.
It just turned 7 on my computer too.
Yeah, so
you guys want to kick this off?
It's just gone midnight. Here we go. Off you go.
All right. Give me a count, Ryan. We'll start.
Now.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And we are back on live, on the air with Indian River Hauntings live on YouTube. Thanks everybody for watching us tonight. I'm Larry Lawson, one of your hosts down in beautiful Vero Beach, Florida, and my good buddy Chris Huff, who is where? Where are you calling from, Chris? Tell the world.
Calling from County Durham, in England,
so
in the UK, in the world, in the universe, in the little spiral arm of the galaxy.
And doing our engineering is my son Ryan, and Ryan is in Orlando. Say hi, Ryan.
Hello, Ryan.
Hello.
So we are truly an international live broadcast, and we're really happy that you guys are with us tonight. Want to get a few shout outs out there for you. First of all, I want to talk about my good buddy Ike Enzi with IDK Paranormal. He's a cop out there, brother law enforcement officer out in New Mexico. Got a great show called IDK Paranormal that's seen right here on YouTube. Also, great stories. Recommend you check that YouTube podcast out. He's got 4 of them out right now, so check it out. My friends at War Party Paranormal down in West Palm Beach, Scotty Burns and her crew, probably one of the best teams in the state of Florida. Our friends at the Mel Fisher Treasure Museum in Sebastian, and I didn't tell you this, Chris, we're doing an investigation there a week from Saturday. Mel Fisher is one of the folks that found the treasure fleet off the coast of Florida,
Right.
and the Etosha down in Key West. And of course, Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, our good friends at the Driftwood Resort in Vero Beach. Hi to Zach and Joe, our good friends there. And of course, our mutual friend Damien Freddy in York. If you guys anybody out there goes to York for vacation, go visit him at the Golden Fleece in the Shambles of York. Some of the really cool ghost stories there. So that's some of our shout outs. I want to mention that Indian River Hauntings are doing tours. We got one on Friday in Vero Beach. So if you're local to Vero Beach, come join us for a tour.
Oh, I'll
The
fly
rest,
over. I really will.
you need to get over here. You do need to come over and see this. Get out of County Durham and see what it's like in sunny Florida.
Why would I want to get out of County Durham?
But also, come October, we've got a huge slate of events, tours, and so starting in September, we're back in Sebastian, but September and October will be in Sebastian, Fellsmere, or Arcadia, Florida. You're one of your favorite places where the airfield is and the cemetery is for those British Flyers, Chris. And just a whole host of things. So go to our website at www.indianriverhauntings.com and take a look at all the great things we have to not only talk about history, but introduce folks that are interested to the paranormal. So with that, old friend, how are you doing over there in County Durham?
Not very good, to tell you the truth. I'm stressed to the nines. We've got a central heating system being ripped out tomorrow and a new one being put in. And the house is an absolute tip. So by the weekend, I'll be fine.
Okay.
But tomorrow, I'm going to be a mess.
Well, let's have some fun tonight then, old buddy.
We'll have some fun. Before we start, I just want to say hello to Deborah if she's listening. Deborah Goldberg, one of my biggest friends. She needs to come with you on an investigation. Deborah, get your ass in gear and go and investigate with Larry and team.
Yeah,
and just in
Deborah's
case,
in Orlando, right?
Deborah's in Orlando. She's very close to you.
Okay.
And just in case, if Leslie's listening, hello, Leslie Hudson, just in case. There we go. Over to you, old man.
All right. Well, I've said this a million times, and you don't always necessarily agree with me, but I am as sensitive as a rock.
Yeah.
And I say that because I really am not somebody that feels like you can, or my son Evan, Ryan's brother. Yet mediums, folks that have the gift that you have and Evan has, are I think a vital part to this entire equation of finding out what the real answers are, or how to unlock the mystery. But there's always been a disconnect's not the right word, but a question on the use of medium's abilities in a paranormal investigation. And I gotta admit, Chris, I had some negative early experiences with mediums as a detective conducting homicide investigations or missing persons investigations. I can think of several times I got calls from folks that purported to be mediums. I didn't know them at all, except from what they told me, and the information was either nothing that we could even trace, or it was completely wrong. So I admit early on I had a negative feeling towards mediums, and then as I grew and developed, if you will, I began to understand there's another side that I don't quite understand, and I've come to respect it and understand its value. So,
but as I was telling you earlier, I mean, there's mediums and mediums, or shall we say, there's mediums and people who like to think they're mediums. So, a lot of the people who contact the police are going to be honest, but cloudy in their vision.
okay.
So you're not getting if they're anything like me, for example, I mean, I'd never contact the police. Full stop. I'm never confident enough. But if you get me on an investigation, you can't shut me up. So that's the difference.
Well, and I experienced that with you, and I mean this in the most positive ways. When we were over there in England,
yeah,
well, yeah, no, you were very fluid. I mean, the information came, and it flowed from you easily. So I get exactly what you're saying.
Well, as I was telling you, it's nothing to do with me. It's if the spirit wants to come through.
Okay.
And if it comes through, then I can tell you everything that they're telling me. They might be telling me lies. They're very good at lying. They don't want you to know certain things. You know, they were killed at so and so and so and so, but they were actually bonking, you know, whoever killed them's wife. They won't tell you that, but they were killed by so and so. Or they won't.
Yeah.
They'll just sort of say, "Oh, it was a white man, and he was about 5'3", and I'll get a very brief picture, which I've got to try and sort out and say, well, he sort of looks like this, and do you know what Charlie Sheen looks like? And that's the best I can do.
Hmm.
I'm actually seeing this like that. And then I've got to try and make sense of what I've seen.
Okay, now this is an interesting question, and the way you just described it is a lot of times what happens to us in police work. Things happen in a fraction of a second where
Yep.
we have to make a decision. Is that a similar type of feeling? I won't say they're the same things, but I mean, you see something and you've got a fraction to discern what it is.
Sometimes the contact is incredibly good, and they'll just hover around, and I can see them quite clearly, and I can get answers. Excuse me. Other times, it's
Too much hobgoblin.
no, never enough. Other times, it all comes in like a very fast download,
Hmm.
and I might take the whole evening to pick that apart, and you'll be getting a snippet here and a snippet there and a snippet here and a snippet there.
Right.
It just depends how it's come through.
Okay. I'm trying to think out how to word this.
Go on, just brutal. Go on.
Brutal.
Brutal.
Well, no, it's not brutal. It's just it's a question. How quickly do you have to discern it? Do they sit there and stand like and emphasize it until you get it, or is it really just a flash,
Depends.
or is it a little bit of both?
It literally depends. To give you an example of one which took a long while, the football supporter, which I got rid of at a local house,
Mm-hmm.
they were getting knocks on the door. The door would rattle, the front door would rattle, and there'd be a sort of coldish feeling. So I went along and did my usual and and no, I can't feel anyone here, and no, I can't actually feel anyone. And then all of a sudden, felt the coldness and thought, hello, who's that? Right, come on, come and tell me who you are. And this, I'd say 60-odd-year-old chap appeared, quite portly, in a Macintosh and a blue and white football scarf, just appeared from me. And I could describe him quite well because he just stood there. I was saying, look, what's the problem? And he was saying, this bloody house is in my way. What
Interesting.
way? He's saying, well, so I'm in my way to the football ground. Well, it was. This used to be a sort of way through to the local football ground. Football as in soccer, sorry.
Right,
Soccer.
right. I got you.
So I was sort of talking to him. And oh, you can't come through here anymore. People live here. You know, it's not on. Well, I can go where I like. So in the end, I said, right, I'm sorry, but it's time to go. Oh, I'm not going anywhere. Well, look at it like this. You can be with your wife again. Oh, I don't want to be with her. Oh, he was a miserable one. He really was. Anyway, I sort of got in touch with the other side, and a load of his old football mates came through. And he was still muttering and grumbling, and they actually just grabbed him and dragged him. So, and then he was never seen again. So, but he stood for quite a long while. Yeah.
You say his friends came and dragged him off?
Yeah, his friend. There was sort of about half a dozen arms sort of reached out. When I contact the other side, it's sort of like I want to say a white column, but that's not what it's like. It's like a beam of light coming down, but it's sort of fizzling at the edges, and
Okay.
and these arms just came out, grabbed him, and off he went.
Well, the reason I'm asking that is, have you ever seen it's an American movie? You may have seen it over there. It was called Field of Dreams, made
Yes,
back in
I
the
have. Oh, I like that film.
Yeah, and it kind of made me think about it because there were the Chicago Black Sox from the 1920s.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, all these old players were on this field, and what you described to me was kind of that. That was just kind of.
It does happen. It does happen if you get someone. Most of my experiences are RAF type experiences, as you know very well. I'll get someone in, and then all of a sudden, other old squadron mates will arrive, or the crew will arrive, and they're all sort of patting him on the back and sort of saying, "Come on, we're going down the pub," and blah 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 blah. And then an aircraft will arrive, a World War II aircraft, and they all get on the aircraft and they'll go. But you actually see these coming in, and you'll actually hear them. They'll say, "Oh, you remember me? I'm Chalky White. You remember me? I'm Sandy, whatever." And yeah, but they're all talking to each other, and they're just trying to get this guy to go with them. So he passes on. So he's not. I don't like the term trapped. I really don't like the term trapped, but it does happen now and again.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer lost. They're lost.
But being trapped denotes that they're stuck. Being lost means they can find their way out.
They can find their way out. There's nothing actually stopping them, but they don't know where they're going. Some of the guys I talk to don't even know they're dead.
Here's a question for you then. We've done some investigations, and I believe this has happened at the old school in Fellsmere, where we've been told I'm being held here. They're not letting me leave. Is that possible?
Happen. Yeah, it does happen. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you've seen my investigation at Langley Hall?
No, I have not seen that one.
The last part of it, I mean, we were under attack by something very dark for the whole time. The story of this is that we went there once. I was planning to do Langley Hall as my master's dissertation. I was going to plan it and do a write-up and just put it in. I looked at the place and I thought, no, it's far too difficult. So I dropped that. While we were there, I was making contact with a really nice young lady who was wandering around just outside the place. And I thought, I'll come back here and have another chat with her. Mm-hmm. We went back. I went there the second time with Judith. And yeah, she was there. She was sort of looking around. She was looking at butterflies and all sorts of things around the place. We stayed a little too long. We stayed until the light started to go. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that light started, and I mean as soon as it started to go, not dark, that when it's just dropping,
right,
and everything's getting those sort of grayish shadows, the place changed, and it became incredibly hostile. And in my mind, there was a woman's voice screaming, get out now. So I do what I'm told. We got out, and it literally felt, to get out at that time, the only way I knew was to go through the trees and down to a stream and then onto the path.
Right.
All the time that we were walking down through the trees to the stream, it felt like something nasty was following. Really bad. I had this terrible feeling. So I put that down to a win for them, because they chased me out basically. As soon as we crossed the stream, gone. Didn't follow.
Well, when probably a little later in the show tonight, I'd like to talk to you about, you used the term under attack, but I'd like to talk a little bit about, because I've had some experience, as unsensitive as I am, I've had a couple of very significant experiences towards me on a negative energy, and I'd like to talk about that in the latter part of the show tonight. What I want to set out of ignorance from somebody that doesn't have the gift, how is the best way to use your gifts or the gifts of a medium in an investigation? And can we pair that with the ability to keep the information and the investigation sterile, like I would a homicide investigation? For example, you don't want to mix evidence or taint evidence during a homicide investigation. How can we do that with somebody with your gifts?
I told you earlier on that what you need to do is go around the place with mediums to start with before you do anything else. And you need people that they can trust. They've got to feel comfortable, because everything is about confidence. And they'll tell you the best places to look. Don't go for where everybody goes. Don't go for the ballroom. Don't go for the classroom. The mediums, if they're any good, they'll tell you what you need to do is put someone on the stairs. What you need to do is put someone in the attic, and trust them. Just trust them.
Okay.
When you get onto your investigation phase, you've got to split it. You have a medium team and you have a general investigation team. The medium team goes into the first location, does their spell. The investigation team goes into location 2. And then after the break, the medium team goes into investigation team two, and the ordinary team goes into investigation one. The information never leaks between the medium team and the
Ah,
investigation
okay,
team.
okay. I like that. Now,
But the medium team is still happy because you've got people they trust doing the investigation with them. You can't guarantee they're going to get anything.
well, you can never guarantee anything in this business, and I think that anybody that does guarantee any kind of result is either a charlatan or a fool, or maybe
Or
a little bit
making
of
money.
both.
Yeah,
Or well, yeah, well, that fits into the charlatan
it does indeed.
category.
Yes.
Um, and eh, eh, and that's the one thing that I think we have to fight in this field too, are the folks that aren't in it for the real reason as to find the answer. Now, we all do. I mean, I do tours and whatnot to enlighten folks, but in fact, you'll be proud of me once again. I'm really using that word experience over investigation when it comes to
It has
public
to be
events,
experience.
and that's what it is. So I like the idea of two teams, but what happens if you have a person on the team that's a medium and somebody that may be in their infancy understanding their gift? Do you put
Then
them together?
you ask them if they want to go with the medium or the investigations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
But you
oh,
specify, I don't want mediums in the investigation team. I don't want skeptics in the medium team.
okay, that's an interesting question because what folks will immediately say, well, if you don't have a skeptic there, then you're cued to one side and you can't look at things objectively.
If you're having a skeptic there, then you're going to get no confidence from the medium and they're not going to be able to produce anything.
So, what are your thoughts on if you have a skeptic on the team or somebody that is a little bit harder to convince, they stay with just the investigative team?
No, 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 no. You nail them to a crucifix, to a cross, and then you walk off and leave them because there is no convincing a skeptic.
Well, and there's the other side of the fence where every bump and grind they hear
Oh
is
yeah,
a
yeah. I know what you mean. I'm winding you up. No, I know what you mean. It's like I say. There's mediums who say that, oh yeah, the room is full of things, and I see Uncle Charlie, and I see Little Bobby, and I see a highwayman, and I see the Emperor Nero and the Emperor Caligula and William the Conqueror and all these people. I'm not joking. I've been there,
oh
and
oh
I'm actually looking at these people saying, "There's bugger all here." But no, they're insistent. There's the highwayman, and he's talking to them. He's talking about all the coaches he's held up, and there's no one there. But they
and
just they want to do it for look at me.
I've seen that happen. We walk into a place and I've had worked with mediums that want to go in and they want to go in and do the first view of everything. But then they come out and they say, that's there, that's there, that's there. Look over there. There's a little girl. There's an old man. And it's like, here I am. Look, I am telling you where everything's at. And after that, how can you have a legitimate investigation because
As I
somebody's
said, you
already going,
split it up. You split it
okay.
up.
So you're not in favor of necessarily sending a medium in first to cover everything and come out and report. That's not what you're saying.
Only to go and say where the best areas are.
Okay. And that's fair. I think that's fair.
You
And
know,
not
I'm
not
I wouldn't put a medium in to start with because we've got to warm up.
mhm,
It's like, you know, somewhere on the FM band on the radio, there's a channel that you want, but you're not sure where it is, and you've got to tune.
mhm.
And it's exactly the same with medium. Where are they communicating? And you've got to tune yourself until you find that frequency.
Frequency vibration. There's
Yeah,
that.
there we
There's
go.
up to
Always.
yeah.
Um,
Hey, Ryan,
I
are you
can't
on?
guarantee. Sorry, go on.
Are you on, Ryan? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Without mentioning any names or where, tell me, can you kind of relate that story about the one medium you dealt with recently in an investigation?
Yeah. So basically, we walked in, and then she's everywhere. She's like, this person's here, this person's here. I sense this and that and the other thing, and she's blatantly just spewing it out to everybody. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't need to be hearing this right now. You can tell me afterwards. Basically, I agree with everything you guys are saying. Like, completely splitting it up because once, like, say if an investigator says something to a medium about this being here, If the medium is right or wrong, they're going to say, "Oh, I see it too." Or vice versa, if a medium says something to an investigator, the investigator's like, "Oh, I heard it. It's the little girl. It has to be that little girl." Well, maybe it's not. And that's how that lady was. She was just telling everybody everything she's seen and or is currently seeing, and it was just getting too much during the investigation because there's so much information coming in at once. And
Does that make sense to you, Chris?
Oh yeah, but if you remember what I was saying to you earlier before we went on air, you can't stop it. I'm not in control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not necromancy. I can't say
Right.
Abraham Lincoln lived here. I'm going to communicate with Abraham Lincoln. It doesn't work that way. I'm just as likely to get Sarah, who lived 3 doors down, who's a girl who died at 6 years old, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't stop it because if it
No,
starts, no, if it starts, I can't stop it. I have a compulsion to say.
gotcha. So what would happen then? Okay, so if you were to go in as the medium first, and you were to just look at the hot spots, where to send a team,
Mm-hmm.
you could just do that without giving the details of what you see at that spot on the stairway or in the corner of the room.
It's almost like using a different muscle.
Okay, all right.
If that makes any sense at all, it's sort of like
Actually,
skimming over it. All you're doing is saying this feels interesting. That's boring. That's boring. That feels interesting. Right, let's go on to the next floor. No, not a lot here. Oh, that's interesting. And somebody just writes it down because I can't remember. But they
oh yeah,
say,
yeah.
right, room 13, interesting. Room 7, nothing. Room 9, nothing. Room 15, interesting. And it's worth doing just like that.
Hmm.
At which point I'll go and have a nice cup of tea, and you can do what the hell you want with getting your investigators going, and then I'll come out and I can lord it over everyone, giving a sort of mediumistic display if you want, or at the end, and we split into our separate teams, and you get the mediums and people who want to go with mediums
Mm-hmm.
in one group, and the investigators just doing sitting down and whatever they do. I don't know because I don't do that side anyway. Um, and you split it down into however many teams you've got. Oh, you don't want more than, I mean, a maximum of sort of 8 people in the team is just
Yeah,
about
we
manageable.
we try to keep it at 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's what I'd like. 5 people is good. More than 5, 6, 7, it just starts getting out of control as everybody starts wandering off, and I'm bored. And yeah, the trouble, as you say, with mediums, if you've got a medium who can't control it and they're telling you or they want to be the center of attention, like me, of course, if they want to be center of
No,
attention,
not
then
like you. You're
they're going to open their trap all the time. And as you said, oh, I see a little girl. Oh, I've just felt something. It must be the little girl. You
Mhm.
make your 2 and 2 equals 4.
Yeah.
Mediums have an incredible amount of power on investigations. Everybody believes them, unless you're a real skeptic. And if you're convincing, everyone will believe you. And they
And
shouldn't. They
I
actually they shouldn't, because the visions are sometimes very cloudy.
interesting point, and I agree with you, and that's I 100% agree with you. And what I worry about, and this is from the cop in me, is when I present this evidence, we have a thing called chain of custody, where once I
I've got
pick up
yeah,
a
I
piece
know.
of
Yeah,
evidence, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And that way, when we present it to court, it is as pristine as when we found it. That's the theory anyway. And when somebody comes in and starts saying there's a little girl there, and then somebody later says, oh, I heard a little girl speak, well, immediately that puts into question, and it might even be accurate, but it puts into question. So what I'm trying to find out, and I think
Yeah,
you've given me some really good answers.
but does that come? Shall we go back to the Golden Fleece at York,
Sure, love
where
to. I'm on
you
the
you,
way.
you were talking about the Fellsmere School,
Uh-huh.
and Ryan will back me up on this one, I'm sure. Where I just said, "Oh, you mean the little boy who wears a green cardigan and a white shirt, and he's got a pair of shorts on, he's got a pair of boots but no socks, and his name's Billy."
You didn't know that.
No,
No. And see, this is part of my evolution. Getting to know you and working with you, and seeing what you're capable of has definitely cemented my total belief of the abilities of others. I got to share this quick story with you just to help you understand why I've evolved. Little things had happened, but there was and I think I told you the story when we were over there. But some friends of mine had a psychic that they had talked to before, and she did phone readings. I'm like, really? Come on. How can somebody read me 500-600 miles away over the phone? Hold a dash, as they say, right? So they set this up. They didn't tell this person I was coming on, and these were friends of mine. So I totally believe what they, how they did this. So we get on the phone, and my friend, the wife of my friend, says, "This is Larry. He's coming on. He's joining us." And she didn't know I was coming on from Adam. She immediately starts talking about my dad coming through.
Mm-hmm.
The thing she told me, for starters, that the first part of it was, you must be really proud of your daughter keeping up with the family business, wearing a uniform and all. Well, my daughter's a police officer,
I know,
as
yeah.
was my dad, as was my grandfather, as was me. And she went on talking about Evan, my dad talking about Evan not being a comedian on stage, and just 3 that he had been on stage as a 12, 13-year-old doing a comedy sketch. It was amazing what this. Now, it wasn't 100% accurate. There were some little things that could be, but it was. It absolutely convinced me. Unless the
Has.
So I really like, and if there's folks out there listening that have a team, they're going to. Of course, they're going to. But it's incumbent upon us to do everything we can to make sure that we've done everything as scientifically proper as we can in order for our evidence to be as pristine as possible. That's my personal opinion.
As I've said before, I personally think the best way forward in the whole of this is audio.
Yeah, ITC, I agree.
Absolutely.
Right.
The best way forward, you cannot fake the audio. You just present what you've got. People can listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Video, I mean, how many of these images do you see that, are photoshopped?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Just, yeah.
And a lot of them coming from overseas now, too.
Yeah, it's quite terrible. But audio, it's there. You just listen to it. I mean, some people can't hear. I mean, I can't do the, those magic picture things where you look at the dots and you suddenly see an elephant or something in it. I can't see. I've never been able to. I'm completely blind to them. But I can hear the audio. Mm-hmm. And some people are the opposite. They can't hear audio, but they can see the elephant in the picture.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All I can do with what I'm doing with mine is try and make everyone be able to hear it. And I think I'm succeeding in my little way, but long way to go. Yeah,
but also I think your work's inspirational, and I think your direction is going in the right way. I do agree that audio, ITC, instrumental transcommunication, whether it be white noise on a computer or a telephone or a cell phone or radio, I think that is the answer. And I think the work of Raw Dive, Jorgensen, certainly Edison talked to all those people. I think that is the foundation for the future, and I think that is where we're going to get our biggest break.
Yeah, I mean that's something to concentrate on. Really is, the audio factor. Just do, if you're going to do audio, if there's anybody out there, I'm going to bang on about my pet hate. When you hear people doing audio sessions, they're doing it in ask a question, ask a question, ask a question. Usually they're not leaving enough gap. It's going ba 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 ba. So that you're not, anything that's coming back is being overridden by them talking. Secondly, they're using double negatives, so you get a yes/no answer.
Yeah.
What they're supposed to ask, and then they do the cardinal sins. When did you die?
Who died? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or how did you die?
How did you die?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got spirits, and quite often you have, who are convinced that they're still alive, they're immediately thrown into confusion. You've lost that contact. They've just wandered off because they're confused.
Mm-hmm.
They're thinking they're talking to something really bad. I haven't died. This must be something evil.
Yeah, and absolutely. But this goes back to the biggest bugaboo I have. In addition to keeping evidence sterile, my other big bugaboo in our field today is lack of training, lack of standards. And I know we can get in an argument you and I have on standards and structure and stuff. But let's say, for example, people are trained to follow a protocol of when you conduct an EVP session, you start with a preamble, date, time, location, who's there, and then you ask questions, and you don't have to ask questions the same way, but you do have to ask them in an interval that will give something an opportunity to answer back. And also another bugaboo I got, since I got the floor
Bugaboos. We're going for bugaboos.
is not only giving them enough time to answer, but also folks that conduct EVP sessions for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You can ask a question, they may answer it, but because you're running that EVP session for 2 hours and it takes you 2 days to get through that 2 hours of audio, they may have answered your question or given or said something you wanted to follow up on, and you didn't know it. So I'm of the belief when you do an EVP session, you're recording it 3 minutes,
Absolutely.
5 tops.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. But what I was going to say is don't ask a series of questions. I made this mistake when I was starting out. You get these questions, what's your name?
Mm-hmm.
What's your date of birth? How old are you? Who's the king? Who's the queen? What happened to you? How did you die? It always comes back to how did you die? Every bloody session. Do you remember when we went into the WAF quarters at Elvington?
Yep.
Because you actually saw me as I do. I do chatty. I'm just sort of saying, well, this looks a nice place, right? Any women here? Right, I think I'm picking up on people. Anybody want to come down the pub with me tonight? And I got an instant reply on the EVP. Let's go now. So, just be chatty. Mm-hmm. You're talking to people. Just talk to them.
Exactly. Especially if they may not acknowledge that they passed, they may not know their past.
Yeah.
They're just talking, and you just carry on a conversation.
Yeah.
And folks, if you're out there too, don't taunt. Don't taunt.
Absolutely.
Because if you believe that these folks are the energies of those that have passed before us, then they're human beings and perceive themselves to maybe still be humans. They don't want to be challenged, chastised, treated like a circus animal. They want to be treated like a person. Would you agree?
It's not only that as well. You are making an enemy of someone who potentially has a lot of power, and you can't stop them.
Well said. Because we don't always know who we're talking to, do we?
You don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah,
literally. So you don't play silly buggers. It's that simple.
It's not TV, folks. It's not where you go out there.
Not TV. This is real.
Yeah, and a lot of folks don't realize that they lie to us. I mean, we called that little boy in the Fellsmere Old School Billy.
Billy.
And he answers to Billy's. You've heard the EVPs we've gotten. But we don't know if his name is really Billy. We don't know if he's a 12-year-old boy or he's a 45-year-old grumpy.
Or he's a 75-year-old nurse or a 750-year-old.
Exactly. So, know that they lie. Now, this brings up another interesting thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and that's negative events. I can't get into names because the individual I made me promise not to acknowledge that they were there. But Evan and I went to the old school in Fellsmere one night, and this is about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And this was one of the stars of one of the shows that's no longer on the air. Asked us to take he and another person into the old school, and we did. And we're just going about our business using the DR80, the Panasonic recorder that a lot of paranormal investigators like to use. And we were getting some pretty significant EVPs out of that. Well, we're sitting in the auditorium, and we're just talking to this entity. It's answering, and suddenly, for the first time ever of me doing this, the whole world started to spin.
Yeah.
And down I was going, and Evan caught me. And it totally threw me because I've never had anything like that happen. So we asked the individual. This individual that was talking to us, or at least giving us answers over the recorder, claimed to hate this female, this lady that was with us, was just saying some horrible things. And I got up, and the first thing that Rob asked was, "Did you do this to Larry?" "Yeah, and you're next, bitch."
Right.
It came out clear as a bell, and that threw me because that's never happened to me before. But it did bring into focus for me personally. No matter how unsensitive you think you are, you can still have a
Oh,
negative event.
they can still get to you. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you believe. They'll get to you if they want to. You do know what happened to you, don't you?
What I believe happened was he was so angry with us, he just went inside and grabbed me, and
Sort of. He just went into you. He just went through
yeah,
you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
all of a sudden, you don't know what's up, down. Your knees turn to jelly, and you're just going because you
that's
just can't
exactly
feel
what
the
happened.
floor. You can't feel anything. And I've had the same at Tholthorpe. Tholthorpe was a magical place. And I'll get onto another thing afterwards. But the first experience I had at Tholthorpe was they've got a mezzanine floor, which is an artificial floor in this hut workshop. I was standing on the steps, on the little landing next to the steps, and there was a 3 foot high, just single railing going around. That's it, between me and 10 foot drop to the floor below. Spirit went into me, straight into me. Couldn't feel up, down, and I was just womphing towards that barrier, and I couldn't stop myself. I couldn't even feel myself, couldn't feel my legs, and I just recovered just in time. I nearly went straight over, 10 foot over.
Holy mackerel!
That's just by a spirit walking in. I don't think they meant to. I think I was just in the way.
Okay.
Anyway, getting onto the sort of more vicious side, at Tholthorpe, I was investigating a second hut, not this one, where they'd had noise of someone walking up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down, interfering with things and generally being a nuisance. So I went very quiet for a little while, as I do, and just tried to get in touch with whoever was there. And it was I think an RAF flight sergeant from the Second World War who was saying, with a lot of swear words, which I can't say on air, what are we doing here? Don't you know this is off limits, with a lot of swear words? How dare you come in here? Where's your pass? I want you out. Everyone's so messy. This should be tied. And he was getting worked up. And you know what? You know what a flight sergeant's like? They come and stand right in your nose, and they tell you exactly how rotten you are. And yeah, he did that. He come and stood right in my face, and he was calling me every name under the sun. None of them I can say. And whack. That's the next thing I knew. Whack. My lips started bleeding. 4 or 5 others in the group just saw it. The lip was just pouring blood from nowhere, absolutely nowhere. He'd gone off at this time. I think he realized he'd gone a bit too far, and I got very annoyed at him, and I started throwing light at him and all sorts. And he was off into the corner and and I sort of was a bit shocked, to tell you the truth, because it's the first time I've ever been attacked. But yeah, this bled quite freely for about 5 minutes. Interestingly enough, a week later, my friend was working in the same hut, and he got hit on the lip, and it started bleeding as well. So we know who the culprit is.
Interesting. And Ryan, you had a pretty good story too, didn't you? And at the prison.
Yes.
Well, can you share that with everybody?
He's a man of very few words, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just like dragging stuff out of him. Come on, Ryan.
Totally. I'm assuming you're talking about the one where I saw stuff basically flying around.
Yeah, at the
right?
prison.
Okay. So what happened was we are where it was like heavy lockdown. I think it was. But
It was an abandoned state prison.
Right.
yeah.
Go ahead, Roy.
And we were. So you have the control tower, and if you're standing in the control tower, there are 3 wings in front of you. There's one to the left, center, and right. A, B, and C, we'll say. And just above that is all the electrical stuff that does lighting and the heating and AC and all that stuff. So me and a bunch of other investigators, there's probably about 4 of us, we go up there, and there's just a big open center area above the control tower, which has like all the switches and stuff. And if you go towards any of the wings, you have to go up like a few stairs, and it's just this long, dark hallway with all the just more electrical equipment. It was really unnerving to be up there. So we were up there for a little bit, and about 20 minutes later, we're like, okay, we're gonna start heading down. So we're going back down from the top of the control tower into the actual control center. And we got two people down. I was going down third. And then at the corner of my eye, I see this metal plate fly across the area. And I turn around and look at it, and you just hear this huge bang when it got to the other side. And I look out, and the investigator behind me, I'm like, "Did you see that too?" And he's just like shucking up, like, "Oh yeah, I saw that too." And so we spent about a good 20 minutes trying to figure out how that could have happened. We took the metal plate and we dropped it from different places, just trying to see if we can get to recreate it. But it's kind of hard to recreate something when it was already on the ground and it was thrown like a frisbee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
go ahead.
no, I mean, did you feel like it was an attempt to hit you? Is that
No.
what you felt?
No, not at all. Because it wasn't
Okay.
aimed at
Okay.
us, it was aimed away from us.
Oh, okay. All right.
But we just
Can
see
I
this
ask,
metal.
Ryan?
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
did you actually feel anything while this happened? Did you feel any build up of energy? Did you feel any negative feelings? Did you suddenly start feeling frightened or anything?
No.
No, it just happened and you didn't feel a thing.
Yeah, basically.
Right. I think they were just trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds
It's
like.
as simple as that. Just attention. Hey, we're here. Don't ignore us. Should have started talking, like I was saying, chatting.
And it's funny too
Yeah.
because I came across some information um, about I can't remember where I got it from, but I got it from somebody that used to work there. And they said they used to watch the prisoners take
Yeah.
metal plates and stuff. They write notes on it, they put cigars on it, whatever. And in that area, and then they throw it like frisbees to each of the cells. And they
They
said,
are.
yeah, and it said it was amazing to watch. But when I heard they
Yeah.
used to throw these metal plates like frisbees to each other, I was just like, oh, because it was just so
Yeah.
perfect what happened and how it correlated to that story.
And it was Tim Crooker that told you that story. He used to work there.
I thought we weren't naming
So.
names, but okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. My fault. Sorry, Tim, if you're out there. Ryan there was another interesting story too that's more along the lines of an attack or a negative thing. Ryan was about 13 years old. We were investigating a house called the Boston House in Fort Pierce, long known, believed to be haunted, all kinds of stories out of there. And we were up on the third floor that overlooked the Indian River. And you've heard Ryan, you know Ryan. He's kind of very straightforward, very serious kind of guy, right?
Mm-hmm. Very few words.
Maybe.
Very few words. Well, we're sitting upstairs in this cupola facing the river on the third floor of this building, and suddenly my 13-year-old stoic son suddenly starts saying, "Dad, I love this place. I think I could stay here forever. I just love it so much. I don't want to leave." I snatched his butt up and got him out of there as quick as possible because that was not Ryan speaking.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
it
but
was a
when
very
you can.
weird situation for me. I've never felt anything like it. All I remember is what my dad told me, what you just said, and somebody said something over the radio because we heard, "Hey, you guys walking around over there? There's a lot of footsteps." And we were planted in one spot. And then after that, I just felt this feeling of dread. Like I needed to get out of there, and that's when my dad basically just yanked me out.
I mean, that's something else I'll say. If you do, anybody listening, if you do get this feeling of dread or I shouldn't be here or this doesn't feel right, just get out because it's your little inner voice telling you what you need
Something's
to know.
wrong. Yeah.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Don't say, oh, it's rubbish and blah 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 blah. Listen, and if it's saying get out, get out. Simple words. It saves my life once or twice.
And one other thing, and I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm a firm believer that we have dominion over our own lives and we have control. after every investigation, we make darn sure we tell whatever may be in the venue that we're at, you must stay. You do not have the right to follow us. You do not have permission to leave with us. You must stay, because we're not to mention a prayer at the beginning and the end of each investigation, but just that, hey, you don't have the right to follow me. I have control. We found that has worked well for us. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I wouldn't start with a prayer, but I wouldn't start with a prayer.
Well, you wouldn't, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's ways of doing things. There's better ways and worse ways. But the worst thing of all is to just assume nothing's going to come with you and not do anything.
Amen.
That's the worst thing you can probably do. You don't start with anything and you don't finish with anything. And if you get something to follow you home, well, it's your fault.
And that's happened plenty of times to people. We've seen it happen. Folks have told us later on that they've had things happen to them because they just didn't take it seriously.
It's a game, isn't it? Television tells you it's a game.
Oh, and it's not a game. Dang
No,
it is not a game. I mean, it's a field, and people come to me and say, "You're a cop. How can you believe this stuff?" Well, to me, this is the greatest investigation of all time, and I do take it seriously. But to take it seriously, you got to understand the consequences if you delve into places that can be harmful to you. And like we both agree, you don't always know who you're talking to.
No, bringing into the cop thing, something else that we were talking about, which is for another show, of course. Investigating murder, unsolved murder.
Yeah, baby. Yes.
That's something that we both agree on. That would be something special. Going along to places where people were murdered, you haven't got anyone for the crime. Let's see if we can do something.
Yeah. I agree, and I think you're seeing some of it. I mean, I think you're seeing some of that thought coming around right now, and you're right. That would be the coolest thing.
It would be useful rather than going to.
But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. I'm going to interrupt you, old friend, because this is why I'm so animate about structure and training and whatnot. If you're to do that, and it's going to be successful, and you actually want to solve something because of it, you've got to make sure the information that you gather has been properly gathered and preserved. And that you got to, because let's face it. Let's say that you got a murder, right?
Hang on, because I've got to cut in, because I can give you all the information I get, and you've got to regard that as a witness statement. And then it's up to you to go and get the stuff that you can prove it, because nothing that I say can be proven until you go out and get the hard proof. As you know, the courts cannot convict upon hearsay, and anything that I tell you is hearsay, but it might give you the little lead that you need to get that hard proof.
And I completely agree with you on that. And there's no question, I probably am I'm being very stringent in my views. And that's why we talk, my friend. That's why we talk, to kind of share these ideas and thoughts. And I think by talking and having dialogue like this, we can come up with that medium ground that's going to work. I have been told by too many people, Chris, can't happen. It'll never happen. Why are you bothering? There's just no way you can do it. Well, I say nuts to that. You and I, while we have so many similar thoughts, we also have different thoughts on things.
Oh, yeah.
But by talking, discussing, by analyzing each other's thoughts, we can come up with answers. I firmly believe that.
It comes, what I was saying just a minute ago, comes back to the skeptic's argument all the time. Well, I've never heard of a psychic finding any evidence which convicted someone. They're not going to, but they might give a policeman, a cop, the ammunition they need or the lead that they can find the hard evidence that will convict.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the cops don't take what they're given seriously.
See, I'll disagree with you there. I think that's changing.
Hopefully.
That's changing.
I mean, we go right back to the beginning of the program, and you get a lot of cranks.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have to find someone that you can trust. They're reliable. Once you've got that, there we go.
Here's a great
chance.
question. How do you discern? How does an old flatfoot like me discern who's credible, who's not? Any thoughts on that?
You talk to them. Pretty much, you've got your instinct. Are they telling you the truth? Are they just out for it for the fame? You'll know. You can talk to them for 5 minutes. You'll know.
That's true. I'll give you that one. You're 100% right. I'll give you that one.
You can't you? You can tell if someone's telling porcupines. Sorry, lies. Porcupines, lies. You can tell if someone's telling porkies. You really can, because it wobbles all over the place. And then all of a sudden they've got that self-important streak and look at me, and they think they're convincing you, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and grander and grander. Exactly. And then you get someone like me who just says, well, there's someone here called Susan and I haven't got a clue who she is.
Yeah.
And that's all you're going to get.
Yeah. I've decided something in us talking tonight. I think we're going to do a whole show that's going to be learning how to speak the King's English.
King's English.
All the translations.
I hate to tell you this, old chap. We've got a queen.
Okay, good. Touche. You got me on that one. But you understand. I was trying to make a joke, man. Looks like we're about out of time for tonight, guys. I do want to mention anything else you want to add, old friend, before we.
I think we've covered quite a lot this evening.
We did, and we hope that the folks out there. We hope that we've got our audio taken care of. Ryan, along with Chris's help, we think we got that audio taken care of. Ryan, have we gotten any complaints on the audio tonight?
Nope.
Okay, good.
See,
good.
Nope.
Yep.
And once I got a few hobgoblins in him, he couldn't shut up.
But so folks, if you have thoughts, you have comments, you've got some things you'd love us to talk about, send that information to me at ghostguy59@gmail.com. That's ghostguy, all lowercase, 59@gmail.com, and give us your thoughts. If you've got events you want us to talk about, if you've got some newsworthy items from your investigations you'd like us to bring up, please give us a holler. We've got some great folks out there, some great resources that we can go to if you ask a question that we can't answer for one reason or another. So let us know what you think. Chris, you got anything else for tonight, my friend?
No, absolutely nothing. We're going to start planning for the next one and see what topic we come up with for that one. Maybe I can ambush you on something.
Yes, that fair is fair. Now there is and I forgot to talk to you about this. We may be changing. We may have to change our timing a little bit. So folks, if you're out there, just stay tuned. Listen for us at this time, unless you hear differently from us, because we got a little quirk coming up. I forgot to tell you about this, Chris. I hate to spring that.
Don't make it any later.
No, it won't be any later.
It won't be a time.
It won't be a time issue, maybe a day issue. Right. So, but stick with us, folks. We got lots of things to talk about. We want to involve all of you out there. We want to make you part of this. This is for all of us to talk about everything paranormal. And we've got a great opportunity to talk to not only amongst us here in the States, but over in England. I know we've got some folks over there that are listening. My best to all of you. And with that, we're going to sign off for tonight, and we'll be back next week. Plan on us being here Tuesday night. Unless you hear differently from us, you can check out any changes on our Facebook website, Indian River Hauntings. On Facebook, we'll have any updates of changes of dates and times or whatever. But we are going to keep this going because we're here to share with you what we know and you to share with us what you know. So with that, Ryan, you got anything?
Nope. See? Nope.
Okay. All right, folks, signing off. Thank you for listening. This is On the Air with Indian River Hauntings. See you on the other side.